The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, is a legendary Western that captivated audiences with its gripping story and unforgettable performances. While Clint Eastwood remains an enduring Hollywood icon, many of the film's talented cast members are no longer with us. Over the years, 43 actors from the film have sadly passed away, leaving behind incredible legacies but also heartbreaking stories. From legendary stars to character actors who made their mark, their lives were filled with triumphs, struggles, and untimely farewells. Join us as we remember these talented performers and the tragic circumstances of their passing. Chief Dan George played Lone Waddy in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 77, portraying a wise yet weary Cherokee elder who had lost everything but retained his spirit and humor. The character embodied resilience in the face of genocide, serving as a mentor to Josie Wales while mourning the destruction of his people. In real life, Chief Dan George was a revered indigenous leader and poet, but his Hollywood career was filled with frustration, as he was often cast in stereotypical roles. He endured the trauma of being forced into Canada's residential school system, where he suffered emotional and physical abuse that haunted him for life. Though he found stability in marriage to Amy George and had 6 children, he witnessed firsthand the discrimination and hardships his people continued to face. As he aged, his health declined, and he grew increasingly disillusioned with the lack of progress for indigenous rights. On September 23, 1981, he died of heart failure at 82.
She says she's Navajo, but she was captured by the Cheyennes. She was violated by one of the bucks of the Arapahoes.
Sondra Locke played Laura Lee in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 32, portraying a vulnerable yet strong-willed young woman who found hope after experiencing great loss. In reality, Locke's life mirrored her character's struggles. Her early Hollywood success was overshadowed by personal and professional battles. She entered a secretive marriage with Gordon Anderson, a gay man, to maintain companionship, but her true relationship with Clint Eastwood defined much of her life. Though deeply in love, she later accused Eastwood of controlling and ultimately destroying her career. When she attempted independence, he allegedly blacklisted her, forcing her into legal battles that left her emotionally and financially drained. Locked out of the industry she once thrived in, she turned to directing but never regained her former status. Diagnosed with breast cancer in the 1990s, she suffered in silence for years before it spread to her bones. She died from cardiac arrest related to her illness on November 3, 2018, at 74.
You do have a watch, don't you?
Well, I've been meaning to get one, yeah.
John Vernon played Captain Fletcher in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 44, portraying a conflicted officer torn between loyalty and morality. An actor known for his commanding presence, Vernon enjoyed a long career in film and television but was often overshadowed by bigger stars. Despite his success, he struggled with the limitations of being typecast as an authoritative villain, leaving him unfulfilled. His personal life also had its share of struggles. Though married to Nancy West with 3 children, including actress Kate Vernon, his demanding career often kept him away from his family. As he aged, his health declined, and a heart condition worsened despite medical intervention. Following complications from heart surgery, he passed away on February 1, 2005, at 72. His death was quiet, much like the career that never fully gave him the recognition he deserved.
Are you coming with us, Josie?
I reckon not, Fletcher.
She'll be coming after you, Josie.
Bill McKinney played the ruthless Captain Terrell in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 45, portraying a sadistic Union officer consumed by vengeance. His chilling performance cemented his place as one of Hollywood's most memorable villains, but it also led to typecasting, limiting his career. McKinney's real-life hardships were as intense as his on-screen persona. He endured a violent childhood, ran away from home as a teenager, and found solace in the military before turning to acting. His personal life was turbulent, marked by short-lived relationships and estrangement from his only son, Clinton. Financial struggles plagued him in his later years, forcing him to take minor roles to stay afloat. When he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, he faced immense physical suffering, his once powerful voice reduced to a whisper. He died on December 1, 2011, at 80.
Head for Mexico.
Then we'll turn southwest and head for Mexico.
Tell them to head north.
What are you talking about?
Paula Truman took on the role of Grandma Sarah in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at the age of 79, portraying a fierce and defiant pioneer woman who, despite her frailty, refused to bow to fear. Grandma Sarah was a relic of a bygone era, a woman whose strength was tested by tragedy yet who remained unyielding in the face of hardship. Truman's own life was marked by a similar resilience. She worked for decades in Hollywood, yet fame eluded her, leaving her to scrape by on modest character roles. Married to Harold Sterner, she had no children, and as the years passed, she found herself increasingly isolated. Her later years were marked by financial struggles, a forgotten figure from a golden era that had long moved on without her. With age came frailty, and she spent her final days in declining health, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by time and neglect. On March 23, 1994, she died at the age of 96.
Whereabouts is this ranch?
My son's ranch, he found before the war near a town called Santa Rio. Creek with good.
Woodrow Parfrey played the scheming carpetbagger in The Outlaw Josey Wales in 1976 at 54, embodying a man who profits from the suffering of others. A gifted character actor, Parfrey had an extensive career with roles in Planet of the Apes, 1968, and Papillon, 1973, but he was forever typecast in supporting roles, never achieving leading man status. His life was shaped by hardship from an early age. He survived World War II but was left deeply traumatized. Despite marrying his wife, Rosa, and having children, his professional frustrations and lingering war scars often created tension at home. His health was another struggle. He survived a massive heart attack in 1963, but the looming threat of another one plagued him for 2 decades. His fears came true when, on July 29, 1984, he suffered a fatal heart attack at the age of 61. He died a man who had spent a lifetime chasing a dream always just out of reach, leaving behind a career of near misses and an existence marred by unfulfilled ambition.
Well, what can you expect from a non-believer?
Sam Bottoms portrayed Jamie in The Outlaw Josey Wales in 1976 at just 21 years old, playing a wounded yet devoted Confederate soldier whose loyalty never wavered. His performance captured Jamie's tragic perseverance, but Bottoms' own life carried its share of hardships. Though he landed roles in Apocalypse Now, 1979, and Seabiscuit, 2003, he never escaped the shadow of his older brother, Timothy Bottoms, who found greater fame. Hollywood's fickle nature and a struggle with substance abuse hindered his potential. His personal life was no less troubled. His first marriage to Alicia Corey ended in divorce, and while his second wife, producer Laura Bickford, supported him, his declining health cast a shadow over his later years. In 2007, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, a devastating battle that slowly took his strength. He died on December 16, 2008, at 53, leaving behind a career of near misses and a life that, like Jamie's, was defined by struggle and resilience.
I got Bart back! Bring it back!
Whooped him again, Josie.
Oh, hey, they're hollering for me.
Joyce Jameson played Rose in The Outlaw Josey Wales in 1976 at 49, portraying a warm, nurturing woman who offers comfort despite her own hardships. Her real life, however, was far from kind. She was talented but was repeatedly cast as the ditzy blonde, never taken seriously in Hollywood. While she had notable appearances in The Andy Griffith Show and The Twilight Zone, her career was a battle against an industry that refused to see her depth. Her personal life mirrored this struggle. Her marriage to composer Billy Barnes ended in divorce, and she spent years searching for a love that never lasted. Chronic depression consumed her, exacerbated by an industry that had moved on from her. By the 1980s, she was largely forgotten, living in increasing isolation. On January 16, 1987, at 59, she died of a drug overdose. Whether intentional or not, her death reflected the pain of a life spent longing for validation, her final act mirroring the quiet despair that had followed her for years.
Lane's redlegs, fighting for a just cause.
Oh, I am sorry to hear that. I mean, he was of the finest sort.
Senora.
Royal Dano played the eccentric tin spot in the Outlaw Josey Wales in 1976 at 54, bringing humor and warmth to the film's band of outlaws. With his gaunt face and deep, haunting voice, he was a prolific character actor in westerns and horror films, known for Moby Dick, 1956, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, 1988. Yet despite his talent, he was often overlooked, always playing supporting roles but never achieving true stardom. His marriage to Peggy Rank provided some stability, but the pressures of his unpredictable career took a toll on his family life. In 1994, he was involved in a severe car accident that left him physically weakened and in constant pain. Just months later, his body gave out, and he suffered a fatal heart attack on May 15, 1994, at 71. His passing was largely unnoticed in Hollywood, a cruel fate for a man who had given so much to the industry, yet never received the recognition he deserved.
Good morning.
Hello, Mr. Wilson. We were just telling these fellows a little story about an outlaw passed through this way a while back.
Sheb Wooley played the tough and resilient Travis Cobb in the Outlaw Josey Wales in 1976 at 55, fitting perfectly into the world of rugged frontiersmen. He was a multi-talented performer, best known for his novelty hit The Purple People Eater, 1958, and for his work on Haw, but his career was often caught between music and acting, leaving him unable to establish dominance in either. His first marriage to Edna Talbot ended in divorce, and though he later found happiness with his second wife, Linda Dotson, the regrets of his past weighed on him. In the late 1990s, he was diagnosed with leukemia, an illness that progressively drained his strength. His once commanding presence faded, and by 2003, he was frail and unable to perform. On September 16, 2003, at the age of 82, he succumbed to the disease, leaving behind a legacy of music and film that never fully granted him the artistic recognition he had long craved. Will Sampson played 10 Bears in the Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 43, portraying a wise and dignified Comanche chief who chooses peace over bloodshed. His performance was deeply respected, but Hollywood offered few substantial roles for Native American actors, leaving his career frustratingly stagnant despite his success in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975. A talented painter and activist, he fought for indigenous rights but struggled financially, often unable to support his family. His marriage ended in divorce, and he remained distant from his children, burdened by the loneliness of a fading career. Diagnosed with scleroderma, a rare disease that attacked his organs, he underwent a desperate heart and lung transplant. The surgery failed, leading to postoperative kidney failure. On June 3, 1987, he died at 53, alone in his hospital bed, his body succumbing to years of suffering and neglect.
I will only hunt what we need to live on, same as the Comanche does. And every spring, when the grass turns green, the Comanche moves north.
William O'Connell played the anxious and talkative Sim Carstairs in the Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 47, offering comic relief amidst the film's bleak world. Though he appeared in numerous Clint Eastwood films like High Plains Drifter, 1973, and Paint Your Wagon, 1969, he never escaped minor supporting roles, his career defined by eccentric, often forgettable characters. Hollywood's lack of recognition left him quietly bitter, though he never openly expressed his disappointment. He never married, instead leading a solitary existence, with few close relationships. As he aged, the industry moved on without him, and he spent his later years in relative obscurity. His health declined, and with no family to care for him, he lived out his final days in near solitude. On January 15, 2024, he died at 94, his cause of death undisclosed. His passing went largely unnoticed, a quiet end for a man who had spent a lifetime in the shadows of Hollywood.
Look away, Dixie Lane.
Howdy.
Howdy there. Sim Carstairs is the name. Mr.
John Quade played the fearsome Comanchero leader in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 38, bringing a cold menace to the screen. A natural villain, he found success in tough guy roles, appearing in Every Which Way But Loose, 1978, and High Plains Drifter, 1973, but Hollywood never saw him as anything more than a rugged heavy. Trapped by his intimidating appearance, he never achieved leading man status, which frustrated him deeply. Though married, financial instability and his growing dissatisfaction with the industry led to frequent tension at home. Disillusioned, he turned to political activism, warning of government conspiracies and societal collapse, further alienating him from Hollywood. As the years passed, he became more isolated, suffering from heart disease while refusing to seek proper medical care. On August 9, 2009, he died of a heart attack at 71, his once commanding presence reduced to a memory, his fears of being forgotten tragically coming true.
Now, one of you has to. Take that old woman over there. She might be worth maybe one donkey.
Len Lesser played the determined settler Abe in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 54, portraying a tough pioneer willing to fight for his land. Though he later gained recognition as Uncle Leo in Seinfeld, much of his early career was spent in constant rejection, struggling to find steady work. Acting was his passion, but it came at a cost. His dedication to the craft left his marriage strained, and though he remained with his wife, their relationship grew distant. His children saw little of him as he prioritized his career over family. As his health declined, he watched as Hollywood slowly moved on, leaving him behind. Cancer ravaged his body, and despite his fighting spirit, he succumbed to the disease. On February 16, 2011, he died at 88 from cancer-related pneumonia, his final days spent in the quiet solitude of a career that had taken so much and given so little in return.
See, Lige? When you pull his teeth, he's harmless.
Buck Kartalian played the kind-hearted shopkeeper in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 54, offering a rare moment of warmth in a violent world. A former bodybuilder turned actor, he fought for recognition in Hollywood, securing roles in Planet of the Apes, 1968, and numerous television shows. Yet, despite his persistence, he remained a character actor, never breaking into stardom. His career was a constant struggle, defined by periods of moderate success followed by long stretches of unemployment. Though he remained married, financial strain weighed heavily on his family, creating distance between him and his children, who eventually pursued lives far removed from Hollywood. In his later years, he was largely forgotten, his health deteriorating as he faded from public memory. On May 24, 2016, he died at 93 from natural causes, his name barely remembered despite decades of hard work in an industry that so easily discarded him.
Sim Fixin over in Cotton Gin weighted him down with lead. I got a picture postcard of it. Here, have a look.
John Russell played the ferocious and unwavering Bloody Bill Anderson in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 55. Bringing to life a ruthless Confederate guerrilla leader who executed his enemies without hesitation. His character embodied the horrors of war, loyal to a cause that ultimately consumed him. Russell, a rugged Hollywood veteran, was once primed for leading man status but found himself typecast as villains, forever overshadowed by more prominent stars. Despite a long career in westerns, he never escaped the industry's cruelty, often taking whatever roles he could to survive. His personal life was equally bleak. His marriage to Renata Titus crumbled under the weight of financial hardship, and though they had 3 children, he remained emotionally distant, haunted by past failures. As his career declined, so did his health, and the once imposing figure became frail, struggling with emphysema that left him gasping for breath. Isolated and largely forgotten by Hollywood, he succumbed to complications from the disease on January 19, 1991, at 70.
You'll find them up in Kansas. They're with the Union.
We're going up there and set things right.
John Davis Chandler portrayed the relentless and merciless first bounty hunter in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 41, a man whose sole purpose was to track down his prey with cold precision. Chandler had the perfect face for villains, gaunt, intense, and unsettling, which led to a career filled with sinister roles, but no real recognition. His talent was undeniable, yet Hollywood never gave him the break he desperately sought. His personal life was equally tragic. Though he married, the relationship was doomed from the start, collapsing under his emotional instability and financial struggles. He had no children, and as the roles dried up, he spiraled into deep depression, his days spent reminiscing about the career that never flourished. Diagnosed with cancer in his later years, he endured tremendous pain, both physical and emotional, as he faced the reality of dying alone. On February 16, 2010, at 75, he succumbed to the disease and his name fading into obscurity.
What do you have? I'm looking for Josie Wales.
Madeleine Taylor Holmes took on the role of the feisty Granny Hawkins in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 62, portraying a witty, strong-willed woman who provided wisdom and comic relief. A veteran stage actress, Holmes spent most of her career in small or uncredited roles, constantly struggling to find steady work in an industry that offered few opportunities for older women. Though she was married, her relationship was far from happy. Prolonged separations and financial difficulties created years of strain. She had no children, and as she aged, she became increasingly isolated, with Hollywood losing interest in her. Her final years were spent in near obscurity, with few friends and little professional recognition. She passed away on December 18, 1987, at the age of 73, with no public cause of death revealed. Her death, much like her career, was quietly overlooked, fading away without the recognition she had long sought.
We're gonna heel and hide you to a barn door. You know what I say?
What's that?
I say that big talk's...
Richard Farnsworth portrayed the rugged Comanchero in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at the age of 56, embodying a hardened outlaw who thrived in the lawless frontier. He began as a stuntman, enduring decades of punishing physical work before transitioning to acting. Though he later earned acclaim for his performances, his road to success was paved with hardship. His greatest heartbreak came in 1985 when his wife of 38 years passed away, leaving him devastated and adrift. Despite professional recognition, his personal life remained empty, and tragedy struck again when he was diagnosed with terminal spinal cancer. The excruciating pain left him unable to walk, robbing him of the physicality that had defined his career. Unable to bear his decline, he took his own life with a gunshot wound on October 6, 2000, at 80, choosing to end his suffering on his own terms.
Now, speak.
Just get off the horse.
Bruce M. Fischer portrayed Yoke in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 40, a hulking and merciless figure who embodied raw brutality and menace. Fischer, who had an unmistakable presence, was repeatedly cast as thugs and criminals, never given the chance to showcase his depth as an actor. His career was a string of small yet menacing roles, but Hollywood never rewarded him for his contributions, leaving him to fade into obscurity. His personal life was no less tragic. Though married once, the relationship disintegrated, leaving him alone in his later years. He had no children, and as his health deteriorated, he found himself without companionship or financial stability. The pain of being overlooked gnawed at him, and in his final years, he lived in near seclusion, battling an undisclosed illness that ultimately claimed his life on April 11, 2018, at 82. John Mitchum played the good-natured and steadfast Al in The Outlaw Josey Wales, 1976, at 57, portraying a man who, despite the odds, stood by his allies. Unlike his famous brother, Robert Mitchum, John never reached stardom, living in the shadow of a sibling who seemed to have everything he lacked: fame, fortune, and admiration. Though he carved out a respectable career as a character actor, he never felt truly accomplished, struggling with resentment and the weight of being the lesser Mitchum. His marriage to Joy Graham was filled with turbulence, marked by financial strain and frequent separations. Though they had children, his distance and growing bitterness created a rift that was never fully mended. As he aged, his body weakened, and the industry that had once kept him afloat turned its back on him. He spent his final years battling illness and near obscurity, his name barely remembered by the industry he had dedicated his life to. He died on November 29, 2001, at 82. Who is your favorite character in The Outlaw Josey Wales? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.